Hey guys, Moto P back with another video. Today, we're finally tearing into the R1 motor. So if you've watched the other episodes of the R1 build series, I bought this Harbor Freight motorcycle lift to kind of make my life a little easier, and we did finally get the motor out of the R1. So before we get the new motor back in, I'm actually going to completely degrease this entire thing and get it back to pretty much showroom condition. That being said, we have moved the motor over into the other room in the garage and kind of planted it over here on the table that we can work on. I've got to figure out some way, either with an engine lift or an engine stand or something, to work on this thing. But I'm going to take off what I can take off. I'm at least going to get the valve cover off today because I do want to inspect the top end and see if there's any issues with that, and then continue the teardown process. So we're going to take off what we can on this motor, and we're going to inspect what we can on this motor on this episode. Have limited time today, so roll the intro and let's get this thing going.
Perfect.
While we wait for someone to answer about my oil pump and water pump question, I'm going to take off the oil filter as well, and hopefully in the next video we're going to cut this thing open and see exactly what in the world is inside of this thing. But I don't really see, there's a little bit of shininess in the oil, but honestly nothing too crazy from what I thought it was going to be. But anyway, now we wait for an answer to that. So I actually found a video on YouTube that I will link down in the description below that actually kind of talked me through this. I'm actually at the step I need to be at, but apparently there is a little sleeve right there that needed to come out that actually kind of acts as a dowel pin, I guess, that holds this to the bottom of the crankcase. So now that that is out, this whole assembly should come out. So thank you, sir, for that video. It has helped me more than you know. So now with that out of the way, we can kind of start looking down into this thing. I don't really see any broke teeth or anything on this, just looking at, not real sure, but I believe we are at the point now that we can actually take the crankcase bottom off and see if we can't see which bearing is actually bad. So I just went around and broke down all of the crankcase bolts that I believe that I'm going to need to do. There are two size bolts. The bigger ones are 12 millimeters and the smaller bolts are 10 millimeters. Of course, on the inside you have a couple of 10s and again a couple of 12s, and then you have what I believe is the rod and main cover, I guess, bearing covers. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can't take out all of these bolts and then pull this bottom end off.
Perfect.
Alright, so we've got all of the bolts removed all the way around the crankcase and all inside of the crankcase. So I guess the next thing to do is pull this off. So here we go.
2,000 years later.
So guys, it's like 5 or 6 days later since I started this video, but it turns out the reason I couldn't get this crankcase apart was because the flywheel was still on it, or the stator, or whatever this thing's called. But anyway, turns out you need this part number, which is this little thing right here, to pull that off of there. This is an 18 by 1.5 bolt is the size of this. If you need to know, this was like $17 or $18 shipped from Rocky Mountain ATV. Again, that is your part number for it. So let's continue. Alright guys, so we finally got the crankcase off, and like I said, I believe it was this rod bearing that let go just due to, I mean, the crank absolutely got burnt up. Let's pull this rod bearing. Well guys, I think we found it. Looking like this old boy completely spun this bearing, and there was no bearing even on this side of the rod cap. And that's what was left on the actual rod side. So, needless to say, wait, I found bearing. Okay, we did have some left on the rod side, or the cap side, should I say. So this was the bearing that was left. But it got awfully hot. Yeah, I think it marred the crank up quite a bit there. Not sure how hot this rod got, but I don't think I would trust that going back together. So guys, we know what happened to the R1 motor, so now becomes the choice. Do we rebuild that motor, new crank, new bearings, at least one new rod, or do I just seek out a replacement engine offline that comes with a good warranty, put it back in the bike, and then go ahead and rebuild that motor anyway? So in the comments below, tell me what I should do. I'm really at a loss here. It is beginning of January here in West Virginia, so I have about 3.5 months before I can really ride reliably. without it snowing. So, like I said, in the comments below, tell me what I should do. Either way, it should be fun. So it does not look like anything else is really messed up besides that one rod bearing. The rest of them, from what I can tell here, actually looks somewhat pretty good. New motor, rebuild this one, or get a new motor and rebuild this one anyway. See you guys on the next video.